Life isn't just about what happens to us. It's about how we choose to respond. The struggles we face, the way we treat others, and the lessons we take from our failures define who we are far more than what we achieve. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true growth isn't found in comfort or certainty. It's a process of self-awareness, courage, and discipline. As Epictetus once said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. But what if your reactions are holding you back instead of lifting you up? What if habits like constant blaming, the fear of change, or a closed mind are quietly sabotaging your potential? These behaviors are more common than you think, and recognizing them isn't about judging yourself or others, but about embracing a path to personal growth and freedom. Here at Stoic Echoes US, we believe that every struggle is a stepping stone to wisdom when approached with the right mindset. In today's video, we'll dive into 3 hidden barriers that might be stopping you from living your best and most resilient life: blaming, fear, and a closed mind. Each of these holds a lesson, a story, and a call to action, not just for self-improvement, but for greater peace and clarity in our relationships and decisions. The path to inner strength and wisdom always starts with self-awareness. Are you ready to take that first step? Let's begin. Sign number 1, take responsibility, not blame. Blaming others is an easy way to avoid discomfort, but it comes at a cost, both to you and your relationships. When we point fingers at others or external circumstances, it reveals more than just poor judgment. It exposes a mindset of avoidance and irresponsibility. Those who frequently blame everything but themselves aren't growing. Instead, they're protecting themselves from vulnerability by refusing to confront their own limitations. However, as Marcus Aurelius once wisely said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Blame not only diminishes personal value, but it also traps us in a cycle of immaturity, creating an illusion of safety while robbing us of self-improvement and growth. Avoiding responsibility might seem easier in the moment, but in reality, it's like closing the door to better opportunities, leaving you stuck in a place of frustration. Let me share a story from everyday life that perfectly illustrates this. Emily is a team leader who promised to deliver a significant client pitch, but on the big day, she forgot an essential document and the meeting fell apart. Instead of admitting her oversight, Emily quickly shifted the blame to an assistant, claiming they failed to remind her. While this blame temporarily shielded Emily from scrutiny, it caused her team to lose trust in her. Over time, people stopped taking her leadership seriously. The project struggled, and co-workers avoided working with her. The truth was simple. Emily's refusal to own her mistake didn't fix anything. What if instead she had acknowledged the error and worked with the team to ensure it wouldn't happen again? Assigning blame did nothing to improve the situation. It only deepened the cracks in her relationships and credibility. Now ask yourself, have you ever blamed someone for a mistake just to avoid the uncomfortable truth about your own actions? How did that situation turn out for you? Constant blaming leads to a cycle where you never grow, never learn, and most importantly, never fix the core issue. Even small moments of blame can have large consequences if they become a habit. Think about a simple example, like showing up late to a friend's dinner. You can blame heavy traffic, such as the weather, or bad city planning. But deep down, you know you could have left earlier. When you shirk accountability, you don't just damage your relationship with your friend, you lose a valuable opportunity to reflect and become better at managing your time. Taking responsibility requires courage, but it is also deeply rewarding. By accepting responsibility for your actions, you gain the respect of others and, more importantly, yourself. Admitting mistakes strengthens your character, turning failure into a lesson rather than a regret. Responsibility is not weakness. It's strength. It shows you're confident enough to learn and adapt. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, we don't have control over everything around us, but we always control how we respond. So the next time you're tempted to ask, who's to blame? Try instead asking, what can I do to fix this? That simple shift in mindset turns you from a passive bystander into an active problem solver. In relationships, this approach can make all the difference. When plans fall through or conflicts arise, resisting the urge to assign blame fosters trust and connection. For example, when a friend cancels plans at the last minute, instead of accusing them of being unreliable, reflect on whether you communicated clearly or could have planned differently. Invite solutions into the conversation rather than tension, and you'll find that taking responsibility builds stronger bonds. Blaming others might feel like a shield in the moment, but it ultimately weakens your foundation. Owners of their mistakes are learners of life, continuously growing into stronger, wiser individuals. Choose truth over excuses, growth over stagnation, and accountability over blame. When you start taking responsibility, you will discover a version of yourself that is more reliable, more confident, and more prepared to face life with wisdom and resilience. So, the next time you face life's inevitable challenges, what will you choose? Blame or strength? Sign number 2, embrace the opportunity of change. Change is not our enemy, so it is life's most consistent teacher, urging us to move forward, adapt, and discover new possibilities. Yet so many of us fear it, clinging to what we know, even when it no longer serves us. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight. The truth is, those who resist change are not protecting themselves. They are building an invisible prison, one that limits growth, stifles potential, and keeps them trapped in outdated routines. Think about it. How often do we avoid trying something new because the comfort of what we know feels safer? The reality is, safety without growth is stagnation in disguise, whether it's holding on to a job that no longer fulfills us or being afraid to leave behind an environment that no longer supports us. This fear doesn't shield us, it holds us back. Take the story of Blockbuster. Once a titan in the entertainment industry, they dominated the market for years. But when Netflix introduced the revolutionary concept of streaming, Blockbuster stuck to its outdated model of in-store DVD rentals. They believed their customers would never abandon the old system, ignoring the evolving needs of their audience and the changing landscape of technology. That refusal to adapt didn't just let Netflix thrive, it drove Blockbuster to bankruptcy. This story reminds us just how destructive the fear of change can be. Life evolves constantly, like a river bending and rushing forward. When we cling to the rocks on the shore, afraid to let go, we miss out on the flow of opportunity that lies ahead. This fear of change doesn't just play out in corporations, it also happens in our personal lives. Consider Michael, a man in his 60s who spent his entire life in the same familiar neighborhood, with his favorite coffee shops and a tight-knit group of friends. When his children suggested he move closer to them, Michael flat out refused, claiming, I don't need to change anything, but over the years, his neighborhood transformed, friends moved away, businesses he loved shut down, and his once familiar world became unfamiliar. Feeling isolated and lost, Michael finally decided to move closer to his family. At first, the new environment felt awkward and unsettling. But over time, he built friendships with neighbors, discovered new activities, and created a sense of belonging once again. What Michael feared most, change, turned out to be the best decision he could make, opening doors he never thought possible. The lesson here is clear. We must step out of our comfort zones and allow ourselves to grow. As Epictetus so profoundly said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Change is inevitable. Life will always push forward, whether we embrace it or resist it. But how we choose to respond determines the quality of our lives. When we take on change with an open heart and a courageous mindset, we gain strength, resilience, and wisdom. Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen if I try? And what's the best that could come from it? Often, the fear of change is far worse than the change itself. Avoiding it, however, comes at a heavy price. It traps us in cycles of regret, anxiety, and missed opportunities. Every moment we hesitate or hold back is one more door closed on personal and emotional growth. So, start asking yourself how you can embrace change. Even in small ways, every step, no matter how uncomfortable, brings us closer to discovering our potential. The fear of change is one of life's greatest limitations, but it is one we impose on ourselves. Be bold enough to rise above this fear, and let change guide you towards new horizons you never imagined. In the end, change isn't here to harm you, it's here to teach you, strengthen you, and help you grow. Are you ready to embrace it? Sign number 3, the power of listening in the noise of our modern world, where conversations often feel like competitions. Many of us fall into the trap of speaking more than we listen. We've been led to believe that dominating a discussion shows confidence or intelligence. But in truth, it often reflects insecurity or a lack of wisdom. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminds us, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This timeless wisdom is a gentle nudge to pause, to embrace silence, and really hear the voices around us. Listening isn't a passive act, it's an intentional skill, one that requires humility, attention, and empathy. When you slow down and truly listen, you acknowledge others' value, build trust, and deepen understanding. It's in the silence between words where relationships are strengthened, new ideas are formed, and true growth begins. Think about this. Have you ever felt dismissed or ignored because someone wasn't really listening to you? What did that feel like? On the flip side, have you ever talked more than you should, only to regret it later because you missed an important perspective? Listening isn't just about hearing, it's about valuing. Without it, our words become noise, like planting seeds on barren soil. Nothing grows. Marcus Aurelius echoed this brilliantly in Meditations. It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. Growth requires acknowledging that we don't have all the answers, and the act of listening humbles us to learn from others. A great story of this comes from Abraham Lincoln, one of the most respected leaders of all time. During the Civil War, his cabinet members often challenged his decisions. Instead of arguing back, Lincoln would listen patiently, acknowledging their concerns and then reply with calm consideration. That is a reasonable perspective. Let me think it over. This approach didn't just diffuse conflicts, it earned him deep trust and mutual respect, making him a stronger, wiser leader. In our personal lives, the art of listening can have an equally transformative impact. Picture a workplace conversation where a manager interrupts every suggestion made by their team, eager to impose their own ideas. Over time, this creates resentment and frustration, with employees withdrawing and refusing to contribute. Now compare that to a leader who pauses, asks thoughtful questions, and lets their team express themselves fully before responding. Which environment would foster greater creativity and growth for all involved? The act of listening shows confidence, not weakness, because it says, "I value you enough to hear you out." That strengthens collaboration and connection. So here's a challenge for you. The next time you're in a conversation, ask yourself, am I really listening? Or am I just waiting for my turn to speak? Learning to listen starts with awareness. It's not about being harsh on yourself, but about using those moments to grow. Let's remember, wisdom is never about proving you're right. It's about staying curious, open, and willing to learn. When we listen, we gain more than information. We gain trust, love, and a deep understanding of the people around us. So tell me, when was the last time you listened and truly heard someone? What did it teach you? Let's make listening a practice, not an afterthought. It may just be the key to better relationships, greater wisdom, and real, lasting growth. Sign number 4, humility over arrogance. Arrogance often hides behind the mask of confidence, but make no mistake, it's a sign of insecurity rather than strength. Arrogant individuals constantly feel the need to prove they are the smartest in every room, dismissing others' perspectives and even belittling opposing opinions. They see conversations as battlegrounds to assert their superiority rather than opportunities to learn. Yet, behind all the bravado lies a deep fear. The fear of being seen as wrong, inferior, or unworthy of respect. This insecurity becomes a massive barrier, keeping them from experiencing the growth and learning that comes with openness and humility. Take the story of Michael, a senior manager whose arrogance was his downfall. He dominated meetings, interrupted colleagues, dismissed ideas that weren't his, and refused to listen, even when warnings could have prevented a disaster. One of his company's projects failed terribly, leading to financial losses and a damaged reputation. But instead of admitting his mistakes, Michael pointed fingers and shifted the blame. The result, he lost the trust of his team and stunted not only his own development, but also that of the company. Michael's story shows how arrogance blinds us, shutting down opportunities to improve and creating a toxic cloud that affects everyone around us. Now, contrast this with humility. Humility doesn't mean thinking less of yourself. It means thinking about yourself less and giving more attention to the perspectives around you. It takes courage to admit when you're wrong or when someone else's idea might be better, but what you gain in return is priceless. Wisdom, growth, and respect. As Epictetus wisely said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." Humility keeps the door open for learning and helps us evolve. Consider a conversation with a close friend about a tough decision. You insist that your way is the only right way forward, disregarding their input no matter how thoughtful it might be. Instead of solving the problem together, the relationship becomes strained and you leave the discussion no wiser. Now imagine if, instead, you showed humility. You paused, listened, and genuinely considered their perspective. Not only would you gain valuable insights, but you'd also strengthen the bond of trust and connection between you. Humility brings wisdom, but it also strengthens relationships. When we let go of the urge to prove ourselves, we create space for collaboration, personal growth, and mutual respect. Ask yourself, am I speaking to be understood or simply to appear intelligent? Am I seeking recognition or true development? These moments of self-reflection are powerful. True strength isn't about winning debates or putting others down. It's about lifting those around you and growing together. Arrogance may give you a fleeting sense of superiority, but humility leads to lasting respect, peace, and wisdom. So will you choose the shallow satisfaction of appearing right, or the deeper fulfillment of becoming truly wise? Let's let humility guide us. It's the path that transforms not only ourselves, but those we interact with every day. Sign number 5, the wisdom of empathy. The ability to step into someone else's shoes and feel their emotions is the foundation of deep human connection, and yet, so many of us struggle to develop it. Without empathy, we see only our own perspective, passing judgments or dismissing others' struggles as unimportant. The absence of empathy isolates us, diminishing wisdom and maturity, and keeping us trapped in a narrow bubble of ignorance. Stoic philosophy teaches us that empathy is not only a reflection of wisdom, but also a tool for growth and understanding. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth by which no one was ever truly harmed." This willingness to open ourselves to another's reality is what builds meaningful relationships and makes us wise. Without it, we risk becoming like Paul, a senior project manager whose impatience led to unkind actions. Paul was known for harsh criticism, and one day he publicly chastised Susan, a team member who failed to meet a critical deadline. What Paul didn't bother to understand was that Susan's son had been seriously ill, leaving her emotionally and physically drained. Months later, when Paul's own mother became gravely sick, he found himself struggling with caregiving and work. It was in this moment of reflection that Paul realized how blind he had been to Susan's struggles, and that his lack of empathy had caused damage not only to her, but to his own character as well. Empathy isn't just about exceptional moments like these. It's necessary in everyday life. How often do we dismiss another's actions as overdramatic or annoying without pausing to consider what's happening beneath the surface? Take a common scenario. Like a young woman clutching her bag tightly on a train, visibly nervous, without empathy. One might dismiss her as paranoid, but with empathy, you might realize she's recovering from trauma, and something as simple as offering her a seat or a kind word could remind her she's not alone. Cultivating this emotional depth goes beyond being nice. It enriches our own character as well. Stoicism reminds us that wisdom is not simply knowing facts. It's about understanding humanity at a deeper level. As Marcus Aurelius taught, we are all part of a larger whole, a united human experience. If we cut ourselves off from that experience, choosing judgment over understanding, we isolate ourselves from the harmony and connection that life offers. Developing empathy doesn't mean agreeing with every perspective or tolerating all actions. It means acknowledging the shared human struggles, flaws, and dreams that bind us together. Start building empathy by practicing active listening. Focus completely on someone's words without interrupting, judging, or jumping to solutions. Ask yourself what must it feel like to be in their shoes? Engage with people from different backgrounds. Volunteer in your community. or take part in conversations that broaden your understanding of others' realities. These small actions create powerful shifts in your mindset and foster respect and compassion. Without empathy, life becomes shallow, robbing us of the richness found in meaningful connections. Through empathy, we not only grow closer to others, but also better understand ourselves. So, where in your life can you pause today and ask, how can I understand, rather than judge? By embracing empathy, you invite not only wisdom, but also a greater sense of purpose, connection, and humanity into your life. Sign number 6, breaking free from a closed mind. A closed mind may feel like a fortress, sturdy and secure, shielding you from uncertainty and discomfort. But what begins as a defense eventually turns into a prison, one that traps you in ignorance and limits your potential. Those with closed minds often resist change, clinging to familiar routines and outdated beliefs, because anything new feels like a threat. This mindset may bring short-term comfort, but it isolates you from growth and blinds you to new opportunities. As a Stoic philosophy teaches us that wisdom isn't about protecting what we already know. It's about constantly challenging ourselves to learn and adapt, as hard as it may be to admit. No one has all the answers, and pretending otherwise is where the real problem begins. Mark, a department manager at a tech company, learned this too late. Known for his leadership and experience, Mark refused to embrace industry changes, convinced that his old methods would continue to work. As his team faltered and progress stalled, Mark blamed external factors, unmotivated employees, market volatility, never stopping to reflect on how his resistance to change contributed to the problem. His stagnation didn't just hurt him, it impacted his team and prevented innovative ideas from taking root. Now consider the contrasting example of Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, who transformed the struggling company by approaching challenges with an open mind. Rather than relying on outdated strategies, Nadella encouraged experimentation and reframed failure as an opportunity for learning, not a reason for shame. By pivoting toward cloud computing and embracing new ideas, he led Microsoft to groundbreaking success. His story demonstrates that the key to growth is humility, the willingness to let go of what no longer serves you, even when doing so feels uncomfortable. A closed mind, on the other hand, doesn't just stunt personal growth. It creates a toxic environment where creativity is lost, innovation is stifled, and opportunities are missed. Even the Stoics, known for their emphasis on resilience, warned against this trap, urging instead the practice of self-reflection and humility. The first step to breaking free from a closed mind is acknowledging that your current perspective may not be complete. Ask yourself, could there be a better way to see this? Or, am I rejecting this simply because it challenges my comfort zone? These simple but powerful questions encourage growth by opening the door to exploration. Without them, how many opportunities might you miss? How many relationships might suffer? Because you were unwilling to accept a view different from yours. Growth requires vulnerability, the courage to admit when you don't know something, and the willingness to learn from what challenges you. Breaking down the walls of a closed mind doesn't mean abandoning your principles. It means strengthening them with wisdom, gained from new perspectives. By leaving the prison of a closed mind behind, you'll discover a world of possibility and creativity and personal strength. Let go of the need to always be right, and instead commit to being open. True wisdom isn't stagnant, it flows and evolves, just like you should. So, What beliefs will you challenge today? What new ideas will you consider to build a wiser, stronger version of yourself? The power to grow is already within you. All it takes is the courage to break free. As we wrap up today's discussion on blaming, fear, and closed minds, remember that true growth starts with self-awareness and a willingness to change. The principles we've explored are not just ideas, they are actionable steps that can transform your daily life. By embracing humility, practicing empathy, learning to listen, and staying open to change, you can free yourself from the habits that hold you back and move toward a more fulfilling, wiser existence. What steps will you take today to apply these changes? Have you seen these traits in your own life or in others? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective and start a meaningful conversation. And if this video inspired you, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Stoic Echoes US for more reflections on Stoic wisdom and personal growth. Let's continue this journey together. Until next time.